So you guys probably remember this dude named Quinton Reviews. He's a media analysis type guy who I made a video on a few years ago, and he made the switch from like commentary YouTube to sort of bread tube, leftist video essay tube, right? Feel free to give it a watch if you want, but honestly, everything in there is kind of dated now. It's been a few years, and I assume everyone involved has moved on and is just kind of indifferent to the events of that video right now. But it's still a funny watch, undoubtedly, but I would say Quinton was never a horrible person, just kind of a dummy, and I wouldn't want to hold everything in there, like his cringy interactions with Lindsay Ellis and everything else against him forever, you know? The only official response that they even got from him was a simple Twitter block.
Relationship ended with the commentary community. Now BreadTube is my best friend.
I'm willing to move on. I'm willing to forgive him. Not that it was ever mine to forgive, but you guys get what I'm saying, right? Can't hold on to that stuff forever. Well, recently, Quinton came under fire from a former friend who seemingly is holding on to stuff forever, and it got him in a little bit of controversy until he absolutely squashed it. Based Quinton Reviews? Based destroyer of would-be career ruiners? Quinton Reviews? Well, all this starts with this individual named Flower Gothic. She calls herself your goth mother and a native historian. So some serious accomplishments right here. And she released this video on July 5th, 2023 titled My Experience with Quinton Reviews.
All right, fine. I'll make an actual video talking about my experiences with Quinton Reviews. Hello, everyone. My name is Julia, known on the internet as Flower Gothic.
She's talking at like a snail's pace, and she's already poured herself some wine, so we're in for the long haul. And as you can all imagine, I decided to put this video on 2x speed. And to be honest, that wasn't even fast enough. It's only 18 minutes long. This should not be such a struggle. I regularly make videos that are like 20 minutes plus, even like an hour plus, right? That's not out of the ordinary for my channels. But this is a real struggle for me to get through because this video is tough. I don't know if she's intoxicated. I don't know what she's on, but she seems to be really struggling. The video opens with Flower Gothic, or Julia, claiming that she was overworked, underpaid, and that Quinton did not treat her as a friend even though he called her one.
While editing for him, I was overworked, underpaid, and I eventually realized that he never treated me as a friend even though he called me one. Oh, and if you think I'm lying about that,
and for context, she was like his video editor on a few videos that he made. The third accusation right off the bat, I just kind of don't care about because frankly, if someone is a bad friend to you, like I fail to see how that's relevant to the YouTube community, unless the way that they were a bad friend is like criminal activity or something truly horrible. I just see it as silly to even say that. But, you know, overworked and underpaid, maybe there could be some merit there, especially because Quinton is a leftist and he's big on like worker rights and whatever else, being nice to employees and fair and equal pay. So if he were to overwork or underpay her explicitly, then that would be bad, right? If there was some merit to that, then maybe there would be some reason to talk about this publicly a little bit. I still wouldn't say it's quite at that point, but maybe you could make a greater claim, a greater justification than what she has here. After this claim, she goes on a long diatribe about how they met each other in a group chat and they both like Garfield and all this other soy stuff, I guess.
lo and behold, Quinton was there too, wearing a fucking Garfield cap.
There's like 7.5 minutes of exposition in the video, barely longer than twice of that. Not sure why all that was included. It almost seems like she's recounting some kind of like a romantic love story about how they met. She talks about how she gave him a video title and he followed her on Twitter and she became his like Discord mod or whatever, you know, Discord Janny, getting rid of the bad stuff in the server, guys. She also claims that he used his Discord as like therapy when he didn't have anyone else around, which I guess does sound like Quinton, to be honest, considering some of the Discord messages about him being out in the rain or something and crying and needing someone on Discord to comfort him.
Quinton kind of used his server as talk therapy. There would be times where he would just hop on and say, hey, is anyone around? I'm feeling down and I want to talk to someone, or something along the lines of that. And basically whoever happened to be on at the moment had to lift his spirits or whatever.
I would say that if you want some emotional support, you shouldn't go to your patrons. You should go to, you know, IRL friends, try to make some friends in real life, or just make some friends privately that you know online, but you can confide in rather than, you know, taking solace in people who pay to watch your YouTube videos and are now, you know, becoming your armchair psychologist, right? Your lapdog therapist. And keep in mind, all of this is explained in the middle of her sipping out of her little wine glass, okay? Which is a bad idea. I mean, if you're making a video of this nature, it's probably a bad idea to be on any substance other than like caffeine caffeine. You kind of want your head and the story to be as straight as possible. In fairness, it doesn't look like she drank very much of it, but even still, it's just bad practice to be drinking during your YouTube exposed video, right? That's probably a bad idea. Now, sometime in May of 2021, I guess she applied for an editing job for his channel, spent like 8 hours on the draft, and then she got the job. And then she goes on this diatribe about how her college takes a lot of time. It's very whiny, to be honest. Like, just get a Bugatti, bro, okay? Nobody need college. And then she says that she took an editing job officially with no contract or no agreement of payment beforehand, which is kind of stupid on her part, not gonna lie. And she writes this off as her being naive, as if that's like an excuse for being paid a small amount of money. Firstly, like, maybe you are naive, but that's still your fault. Like naivety is a bad thing. That's something you're supposed to remedy. It's not something that, like, you know, can just like pass off all of your actions as like, oh, well, I was naive. Like, have some personal agency to actually ask for more money. Honestly, I think $2,000 is not that bad for a job that you specifically chose to do, you wanted to do, and it's your first editing job in general, and it's your first editing job for this person. I feel like the pay's not that bad, but you could have asked for more money as well, which apparently, you know, nowhere in the video do you say you asked for more money. You could have asked for more, but apparently you didn't. You just took it.
He offered $2,000, of which PayPal took a cut. I know I took like 2 or 3 days off while editing, but all in all, I was working 6 or 7 days a week on that mess. I didn't even know I was being underpaid until experienced editors pointed it out to me.
Like, this is your fault. Have some self-respect, have some personal responsibility. Just asking for payment up front is not that big of a deal. I personally pay editors and writers and graphic designers and artists regularly to work for me, and I tend to agree on a payment up front with my contractors because it's just best practice to get that out of the way first. But sometimes I'm like rushing to get something done and we don't talk until after, and at that point we'll come to some agreement, and I tend to be overpaying a bit just so people are totally satisfied, and because realistically I can take the hit a little bit on overpaying someone for some artwork or some video editing. And I think maybe Quinton should be paying a little bit more for this particular edit just because of how monumental it was, right? And maybe there should be like some agreement of the price up front, but realistically this person never asked. They never once had an issue with what they were paid in the moment, so I think it's pretty ridiculous to post this whole exposed video afterwards as if he needs to be outed so everybody knows what a bad boss he is, and don't edit for that guy. She mentions at the beginning that her friends encouraged her to come out with this story as if this is some, like, you know, essay recount, right? Her telling the story of how she was like abused by a YouTuber.
Some dear friends of mine encouraged me to make an official call-out video to get the word out.
She even snidely disses him for the amount of videos he's made in this series.
Also, did you know that the Victorious video was intended to only be one video? The entire iCarly video essay series was meant to only be like 6 videos. 2 for iCarly, 1 for Victorious, 1 for Sam and Cat, 1 for all of Dan Schneider's fuckery, and 1 for the reboot. Now he's 6 videos in and he hasn't even finished Sam and Cat. Think about that. One more thing before I discuss End of iCarly. If you saw my Duggar video, you would know that my travel companion got really sick while we were in Arkansas.
And then she goes on this tangent about how he didn't leave her super long responses when she messaged him, which is just like, I don't know, he just left you on red, bro. I'm sorry, you got owned. He was probably just busy, or he didn't want to talk to you. Where does this sense of like entitlement come from during the whole experience? This person's entitlement, their narcissism is off the charts. And I don't mean to play armchair psychologist here and like try to diagnose them, because I don't know what they have. They may very well have something. I don't know what it is, but they seem very entitled, and between this and the pay thing, it seems like they expect people to read their mind. She expects Quinton to read her mind and be like, oh, you know, this person wants more money, when you never explicitly said that, right? You gotta actually say what you want. And beyond that, the whole message thing is like, even if you're friends with someone, you don't owe them a long response. Sometimes my friends will message me something and I'm just busy. I'm doing stuff, you know, I'm making videos, I'm trying to be on my grind set, okay? I'm traveling around a lot, I'm seeing my family, I'm hanging out with my girlfriend, I'm hanging out with friends, I'm running errands. Like, sometimes when you're an adult with responsibilities, it's hard to respond with a long message, right? It just is. People don't have time to write you back paragraphs and paragraphs. So I see this as a very strange thing. I think this person maybe is spending too much time inside. I hate to use this term as a YouTuber, as a terminally online YouTuber myself, but you got to go touch some grass, you know? Then she moves on to working on the second iCarly video, and she seems to have some real grievances with the fact that he was uncommunicative as a boss and was not sending her footage on time, I guess, or often enough for her standard, which is somewhat fair, but once again, this has no place in like a YouTube exposed video. Vent about it to your friends, I guess, if that's a real concern for you. If you're frustrated, I understand that, but the public really has no reason to know any of this.
And remember, I was the sole editor. There were times I had to beg him for the fucking assets for me to do my job. I even expressed my grievances via message.
Then she says when she's done editing the super long video, which according to her was like 6 to 7 hours a day over a month, seems like a little much, but whatever, he offers her $1,300. Now that is low, so she asks for $400 more, and he sends it.
September 2021, end of iCarly comes out. Guess how much Quinton offered? $1,300. I asked for $1,700 and he sent it. When I called him out originally, I wanted to highlight this part the most. That he paid me less for doing more.
So like, once again, what is the issue here? Like, I guess it's not a lot of money if you were actually working, you know, every day for a month or something, 6 or 7 hours a day. But if you really wanted to be paid better for this, you should have asked the man. You should have been upfront. You should have been like, hey, I feel like I deserve double or something like that. And maybe he wouldn't have come back with double, but he probably would have come back with a better offer than what he initially offered, right? But you didn't say that, and it just doesn't make sense to me. Now, if that is the amount of work she did for Quinton, that is honestly underpaying her quite a bit. But even so, like, come to an agreement beforehand. This is like baby's first job, okay? You're 21 years old. Just start asking for pay up front, and even like making an exposed video after the fact. Like, you're mad at him for being unprofessional, and you're currently making a 20-minute long quote-unquote exposed video about the facts that he like apparently didn't pay you enough when you never asked to be paid more. And when you did ask the one time, he paid you more. So what more do you expect, really?
But instead, he self-blocked me on Twitter on New Year's Eve.
So she ends with this final message she claims she sent to him where she says the following. Regardless of if you intend on responding to these messages or not, all bets are off. So I'm going to respond to your bullet point rejection with my own bullet point list of every single grievance I've had working on the project and our friendship. 1. Taking advantage of my flexibility. I would literally leave class early when they needed all hands on deck and make sure iCarly 1 could be finished before the revival came out. There would be days where I did nothing but edit to the point where friends expressed concern for my well-being. To be fair, part of this is due to my work ethic, but I literally had to stop some of my own obligations aside because I was never sure when you would send me audio to finish the project, to the point where it seemed like you only started working on stuff the first time I air my grievances out. Now, this is a valid concern for an employee to send privately. In her case, she's a contractor, to her boss, but at the same time, she was under no obligation to even make this video, right? Everything he asked her to do and everything she did as a result of that was her own choice. She's a legal adult. She chose to overwork herself. It's not like he was giving her insane deadlines. Like, he probably gave her a certain amount of time, and in the video, she says she got stuff done really quick. She has a good work ethic, but if she's overworking herself to that point, like, I feel like she should just be slowing down a little bit, She's choosing to put herself through that personal hell. And if editing this truly was this much of like an affront to your life and your lifestyle, and it was like concerning everyone, then you could have actually chosen to just not done it anymore. You could have chosen to not do the video. Nobody's shackling you to the wall saying, edit this video, okay? It's not like that. There's not some like slave labor camp. You're choosing to edit this YouTube video. You can choose not to, but apparently you didn't. 2, terrible work ethic. I know you have other obligations aside from YouTube. I do too. But while editing the second iCarly video, I felt as though you weren't doing as much as you could at the time, especially when I would see you design t-shirts or buy shit off eBay instead of writing or voice recording. I wouldn't bring this up if this is a 1 or 2 time occurrence. This happened multiple times and made me feel very frustrated. I mean, yeah, if the dude is lazy, that's bad, but I just once again failed to see why it needed to be in some hit piece about him to make him look like a slob or whatever, right? It just doesn't seem necessary to me. Like, if you have a problem with someone privately that they're lazy, that's a fair problem to have. You can air that out privately with them. But as far as putting it in a YouTube video, like, I just really fail to see why this even needed to be here, What is even the point of this video? I'm struggling so far. 3, calling me a great friend and considering me a part of your circle when you didn't treat me like a friend. I remember one time when there was an iCarly episode that had to be edited that triggered some traumatic memories from an abusive relationship, and I briefly brought this up while editing. Not once did you express concern for my well-being during this episode, and I ended up having to stop working for the day because that episode was too much for me to handle. I've never felt particularly emotionally supported by you, comfortable enough to be vulnerable around you, or otherwise treated like a friend in general. This very well may be true. Maybe she had some past abuse and memories were brought up as a result of an iCarly episode. That could be the case. But he's not your therapist, man. He's a YouTuber you work for. I guess you had some kind of cordial relationship. Maybe you even were closer friends, but it seems to me like it was kind of one-sided on your end. You felt you had a more special friendship than he actually cared about. And that sucks. That sucks for you. And I'm sorry about that. But that does happen in life. Sometimes people misread intentions. Sometimes you regard someone as a much closer friend than they regard you. But this is not grounds for some YouTube exposed video. And once again, I mean, we're more than halfway through this. We're nearing the end now, actually, and I'm having a hard time understanding why this even needed to be, put together in a big YouTube video. It seems kind of like spiteful to me. It seems unjustly spiteful. There are other things that have rubbed me the wrong way, like the not good, to say the least, way that you reminded patrons patrons of the fact that their relationship with you is parasocial. I mean, I feel like it makes sense to remind the audience once in a while not to get too attached to you, because I mean, these people are not your friends, bro. They're just people that like your videos and pay for it, and that's it. And it's okay to be clear about that line in the sand, because some fans will get too attached. And I would say if Quinton did make that distinction, then that's great. What she's saying here, by the way, seems to contradict her prior statement about how he uses his Patreon as like his therapy place, but whatever. And then she claims that she spent 4 months waiting for him to apologize to her.
A friend of mine then chewed him out in DMs with my permission, and I got booted from his server. And that was that. I spent 4 goddamn months in silence afterwards, hoping for some kind of apology from him.
I think you need to spend some time outside and make more friends in real life if you're still thinking about this interaction 4 months afterwards. You may have some kind of actual issue you need dealt with. And this is not even a joke. This is like me actually saying you need to see a therapist or something. You have to be able to let go of stuff like this. It's not good for your heart, your brain, your soul to cling on to these like personal interactions you had, where frankly you were not communicative enough and you were honestly in the wrong. But to cling on to that for years after and still think that you're in the right is horribly unhealthy.
And hey, maybe I'm being petty, but even 2 years later, I'm still pissed off at him for what he did.
And then she brings up the cringy like Lindsay Ellis and Sarah Z messages from a few years ago, which I did have in my video, and she gets super irate at us and just goes sicko mode.
I know that he was indeed creepy to Sarah Z and Lindsay Ellis in Twitter DMs. I know the contents of those DMs. But that's someone else's story to tell.
And here's a little segment of my old video about all of that. My Wikitubia page implies in the controversies section that I became a leftist because of my friendship with @MarySueWriter, which is not true, but it is really fascinating. MarySueWriter is the Twitter handle of Sarah Z, a YouTuber who makes video essays about the internet and pop culture. The fact that she's a leftist was, I imagine, a bonus to Quinton. A girl who makes videos, and she's quirky and knows internet stuff. Awesome. Through complimenting her, both in videos and on Twitter, Quinton became acquainted with Sarah, and the two began a public friendship where they would reply to each other's tweets. They even met in person, but sometime in 2020, this friendship seemingly ended. The two unfollowed each other on Twitter, and they stopped talking altogether. But apart from the loss of a mutual Twitter follow, there would not be any public confirmation of this until the first few weeks of 2021. On January 13th, Sarah Z tweeted out, "This is weird. Please don't do this. Hey, I figure we don't like each other for some reason, so I'm just gonna unfollow." Sarah followed up by saying, "For context, this is from another creator who has done things like publicly mention in their videos when I haven't responded to their messages. It's weird and uncomfortable, and it puts people in an awkward position." But Sarah wasn't alone. Fellow video essayist Lindsay Ellis left a reply as well. "I think we may both be on the receiving end of inappropriate messages from the same person. Please, don't do this." Attached were other messages as well, of some anonymous individual trying to strike up some sort of friendship repeatedly before apologizing for ever sending the messages in the first place. Sarah elaborated, saying, "There's just this brand of self-pitying pushiness that really irks me. When someone behaves inappropriately, gets told they're behaving inappropriately, and then deliberately solicits pity and validation from people who don't have context. It's a bit frustrating."
I couldn't get in contact with Sarah Z, so I'll have to do the voice of Irma this time.
These messages are all extremely cringy, but beyond that, if this was just an anonymous individual, then ultimately it wouldn't matter, right? People in the replies and quote tweets began to speculate that this was Quinton, and if we take a look at the profile pictures, the colors certainly seem to line up. Not to mention that a cursory check of mutuals reveals that he and Lindsay also didn't follow each other. While publicly, Quinton ignored the controversy, he did make a few sad boy posts around the time. And that stuff is cringe and awkward, but that's really where it ends. Like, to call him a creep or imply he's some kind of, I don't know, like deviant because of that is just really silly.
What happened to me isn't Quinton's only sin. For all I know, it could just be the beginning.
Alright, so this video is kind of nothing, and you guys probably could have predicted that. It either would not get much traction, or it would just be kind of like made fun of by a lot of people. But actually, upon its release, like the comment section was filled with people being supportive of her. I think a lot of them were like her friends and her own subscribers, so that's kind of to be expected. But there didn't seem to be a lot of criticism or questioning, not a lot of critical thinking going on in regards to this video. Well, eventually she turned the comments off and privated her Twitter because Q-Man responded with a video. It's just shy of 50 minutes long, and it goes into exhaustive detail about this flower gothic person and how she left out a ton of important information from her video. And there's a lot I could say to kind of introduce you guys to this next segment, but I think the way that Quinton opens his video, the message he gives, pretty much sums up what you need to know right away.
In October of 2021, one of my editors sent me a personal message on Discord
telling me that they were in love with me and they wanted to be my girlfriend. And I wasn't really interested in this proposal for a myriad of reasons. The biggest being that I just didn't want to be in a relationship with this person. And I basically, from that moment forwards, had to do my best to turn this person down without turning it into a gigantic mess. And at the end of the day, I guess I failed at that. I guess I was not successful at turning these investments down without causing a lot of trouble. And it's now gotten to the point where I kind of have to sit down and tell you guys this story, which I never wanted to stress you guys out about this thing that happened that made me uncomfortable, and just kind of telling you my story, what happened, and why I feel how I feel about the situation.
Quinton Reviews goes on to describe how this person has been trying to get some kind of reaction out of him for the past 2 years, which mounted in the video we now see from her. And she basically was in love with him and made various advances towards him, which she completely left out of her video, right? Keep in mind, that wasn't mentioned at all in her video, that she was attracted to him, that she had like a crush on him or something. That was not included whatsoever, which I feel like was a crucial detail that, you know, if you're going to be intellectually and, you know, just like narratively honest, you have to include that in there. You know, the fact that you were in love with this person who you're now mad at, who also rejected you. That seems like a pressing detail. Now, from his side of the story, it basically starts with, you know, kind of the same story she told. He wanted to expand his channel and make videos come out faster by hiring editors, and so she became kind of a part of the team. But the first sign of trouble was that she was very impatient with him sending footage to her, and she would get done work very quickly, but the work often had mistakes that he needed to correct, including like just 10 minutes of show footage in there, which obviously you can't upload to YouTube, and she just was not taking the proper time on the work itself. She wasn't a great editor. And in her video, she kind of mirrors this from the side where she says he was lazy, but he's saying she was looking for too much work because she wasn't taking her time. She was almost entitled to do more work, like she was trying to take charge on the project, whereas he had other editors he wanted to give work to, right? Other people he was giving editing work to, but she was very impatient and was kind of forcing herself, like brute forcing herself into like the main editing role of these videos.
After we agreed that she was only going to work on the iCarly videos, I started working on the Victorious videos, and she elected herself to be like a ghostwriter. She wanted to watch these Victorious episodes at the same pace that I was, although she typically would watch them at an impossibly fast pace, and she wanted to give me jokes and notes and rants I could go on. She was basically trying to be my ghostwriter, and I think there's like one joke in Victorious Part 1 that she did right. But a lot of the other material she would send me would be like really odd and hyper-specific and sometimes inappropriate, sometimes really sexual analysis of the season 1 Victorious stuff. Kind of made me uncomfortable from time to time.
Then one day she sends him a message where she's basically asking if he likes her in a romantic way.
So these are the start to the DMs that were kind of like inappropriate in a way that made me uncomfortable. And I usually would strive not to show this stuff because it's embarrassing, but I feel it's important to present this stuff to show my side of the story. So this is after she was not on the payroll. I didn't know about any of this until after she had stopped working for me. Because there was a span after she stopped working for me where she was just kind of one of my friends. And then in October, she went down. But this is what happened straight after iCarly Part 2 came out. Hey, I'm fucking tired and quite drunk, so I have no shame in asking this anymore. But what do you think of me? It's been something that's been occupying my head for such a fucking long time, and I've been too anxiety-ridden to ask because I don't want to drive people away from me. I really like you, and I think you're cute, and you're a wonderful person, but I guess I always fear that other people think of me. I'm sorry, I guess I always fear what other people think of me. I just don't want to come off as too imposing or creepy to anyone, and especially not you.
So she's saying she's into him, she likes him, and then she puts a note that she has feelings for him in the notes to the Victorious analysis video, which is insane.
Later on, she sent me notes from watching episodes of Victorious. She had gotten heavily intoxicated while taking these notes, and in the notes was again a statement that she had feelings for me, and I just had this sense that things were gonna get bad.
Right? When someone doesn't reciprocate, her response is to put a note about how she likes him in the work they're doing together in the YouTube video script. That's crazy. That is bonkers, okay? That is wild. I can't even begin to describe. That's nuts. But then she sends this message on November 1st, which is a pretty wild one. She says, "Hey Quinton, so there isn't any good way to sugarcoat this, and I'm tired as hell and quite drunk, so I'm just gonna say it now and let future Julia deal with the fallout. I think I have feelings for you. Like, I like you. I like you. Yes, in that way. I just think you're so cute and sweet and amazing. Lol. I've been too scared to say it because I don't want to drive you away from me and I don't want things to be awkward between us at all. I genuinely care about you and you're an amazing human being." And sorry, I have to correct myself here. She says human being, not human being. She does, to be honest, seem like the kind of person to say human being. I'll let you guys take that however you want, up to interpretation. This is not a joke at all, but I just want to let you know that I like you. I really do. And my tired self is tired of keeping it hidden, lol. Like, I'm graduating in December and moving, so I have nothing left to lose anymore, I guess, lol. Anyway, I don't know how to end this, so I'll just use a pickup line my friend made up, but I really like because it sums up what I feel about you perfectly. I saw that you called me the linchpin for the iCarly videos. Could I be the linchpin in your love life too? And he actually censored her identity in this video as well, which was awful nice of him, all things considered. But she's clearly drunk in this message, given the spelling mistakes, and looking back at her video, the fact that she didn't include this at all is insane. I mean, it seems like in reality, she was kind of more of a lover scorned than someone who was genuinely wronged by Quinton. Like, she didn't get what she wanted, and now she's retrospectively doing this whole, like, you know, anger thing at him, right? Making an exposed video about him. This video seems to be almost like a cry for attention from him in any way. Like, he stops acknowledging her, so she's just trying to get some kind of rise out of him in whatever way that is. In this case, it's like falsely accusing him. It seems like she just wants some way, any way, to get the attention of the Quinton reviews. Her true motivations were not like worker rights or something, right? They were actually just wanting to be his girlfriend, wanting in on the Q-dog, so to speak. And this also retrospectively makes her comments about his weird, pathetic messages to Lindsay Ellis look like projection, honestly. Like, she actually feels bad about what she did to Quinton, or maybe she's aware that it was weird, and that's why she decided to call him out for the honestly, like, tame in comparison messages that he sent to Lindsay Ellis, where he was basically just messaging her and he was like, "Hey, want to hang out?" And then she wouldn't respond. He'd be like, "Hey, want to hang out?" And then she wouldn't respond. He'd be like, well, guess you don't want to hang out. Guess I suck." Like, it was just that kind of stuff, right? It's cringy, but it's not actually even on the same level as what she's doing here, right? I mean, look at her eyes when she said that line and tell me this is not projection, bro, okay? Tell me to my face.
I know he hasn't changed as a boss, but that's someone else's story to tell. I know that he was indeed creepy to Sarah Zed and Lindsay Ellis in Twitter DMs. I know the contents of those DMs, but that's someone else's story to tell.
So he decides to respond with this super long message, basically giving his thoughts on why he does not want a relationship with her and how this message made him feel very uncomfortable. He was not cool with this happening at all.
First of all, I want to say that I hope you've had a grand Halloween. Drink lots of water so you don't get hungover. I've been aware of the situation for a while, as you included a similar passage to this in your victorious notes, but I have to politely turn you down. First of all, I'm not generally interested in long-distance relationships. I just don't really see what it contributes to the soul. Second, I decided a long time ago that I was never interested in entering a relationship that started with someone watching my videos. I think it's a real breach of ethics and leads to a lot of abusive situations. I'm just generally a person who avoids power dynamics in romance. Thirdly, I can't imagine dating someone on my staff. You being on the payroll by itself lends itself to abuse in a potential relationship. And fourth, I just really don't see you that way, and I hope that's alright with you. I hope you understand that I still think you're swell, and I really appreciate your friendship, but I'm just not interested in a relationship. And I hope you understand this is a little uncomfortable for me, but I've seen it incoming for some time. It's hard when you don't have an HR department. Again, I just hope you understand the situation, that you're respectful of it, and you don't try to find any loopholes or whatever in my explanation. Again, I think you're a really great friend, and I think you'll find somebody else, But this just isn't me, I'm afraid.
And then he has this very mature take in the video, which kind of mirrors how I feel about this situation, which is that it just never needed to be made public, right? And I'm not saying he didn't have a right to talk about it after the fact, considering that, you know, her video came out, she's trying to like expose him, so he wants to correct the record. But basically he's saying like, he feels like there's some situations that there can be negative interpersonal interactions between content creators or people, and it doesn't need to be like this big public cancellation, cancel culture spectacle thing. And I would definitely agree with that. You know, sometimes there's personal interactions that people have, and it's like they're negative. Maybe there's some kind of falling out, but just because those people are famous, or maybe one of them is famous, it doesn't mean that it needs to be known to the entire public. Because the point of exposing someone to the public is to prevent them from potentially victimizing more people. And in this case, Flower Gothic, Julia, is not a victim. The only victim, if any, is Quinton Reviews. And if anything, he would have more of a right to talk about it, but he displayed some professionalism and not wanting to, because it's just like, he's not a drama channel, like he said. It's not really what he wants to do. He just wants to make videos about, you know, iCarly or Garfield or whatever else, right? But some of these things just don't need to come out, so to speak, right? If there's an abuser, if there's some kind of pattern of behavior, if there's like someone being victimized, if there's some crime being committed, if there's something horrible going on, that is grounds to talk about, right? There's a reason the public needs to know about that. I'm someone who reports on a lot of those situations, and I respect, you know, the right of a victim to talk about what happened to them. But in this case, Flower Gothic is only a victim of herself, it seems.
I really respect everybody's right to have kind of these private things, you know, to have these private disagreements. It doesn't have to be on fucking Keemstar. And that's why I didn't talk about it for almost 2 years.
Well, apparently initially she was cool with the rejection that he presented, but then she became very incensed, sent him the list of reasons she was mad at him over the video stuff, and all of a sudden she had a ton of issues with him the whole time, right?
What ended up happening was I sent this message, and this was the last time we talked on Discord. A few days later, she messaged me on Twitter, and it was kind of weird because initially she was like, "Oh, haha, how you doing?" And I was like, "I'm doing good. Are you doing well?" And she said to me, "Oh yeah, I'm doing great. By the way, I'm too anxious to log back onto Discord. Did you say yes to me asking you out?" And I said no, because I'm not really interested in a relationship, and there were a lot of ethical tie-ups. And she said, okay. All right, that, you know, she was chill about it. Until, I think about a day later, she messaged me again, and she said, I logged into Discord, I looked at what you wrote, and I'm pissed off at you. And I'm pissed off at you, and I'm angry at you, and I'm going to tell you why I hate you. Kind of weird, right? Because, you know, the message she wrote before was full of stuff like, "Hey, you're such a cool guy, and I don't want to hurt you, and I don't want to burn this bridge, and you're so cool, and I like you so much." And then the moment I reject her, she sends me a message where she says, I'm pissed off at you. I got a lot of problems with you, and I hate you, and I want you to know why.
He explains how the pay he gave her was a pay that she suggested and agreed to, which she even admitted was the case. He also says that he had already paid her for this work, and he was considering paying her after, her angry messages about being underpaid, but he felt like it would seem like hush money if he was paying her then, which is, a fair concern to have. And over the next few years, she would make various posts about him and how he wronged her. She would vague tweet him, and then she would actually name him and claim he never paid his editors, and he basically viewed her as some kind of borderline stalker, right? Which, given her mannerisms and the way she talks about him in these messages that he showed, I don't think that's an unjust label for her, right? Maybe pseudo stalker, borderline stalker is not something I would completely write off, because she's clearly obsessed with him. She clearly is still mad about this rejection, and this is haunting her life. It's controlling her entire mental state. And this makes me feel bad for Quinton. Like realistically, he did not do anything wrong here. And he even avoided talking about this until the last moment when she finally made a video about it, but apparently she was straight up spreading lies. He even revealed that he spent $80,000 on paying editors over the course of 1 year, which is quite expensive for an independent YouTube channel. So clearly the dude is paying people, unless that number is completely fake and not true and he's lying. But I have no reason to believe he'd lie about that outright, right?
The more she went on, the more untruthful that she got. One of her latest things that I guess has become her community meme is she tells people that I just flat out don't pay my editors, which is such a non-truth that it almost makes me want to laugh. I file my taxes, I do my taxes, and this is going to sound like an outrageous number, but last year I spent more than $80,000 on my editing team.
And the comments are filled with people just kind of saying a lot about this Julia girl. I don't know how true any of this is. On one hand, you have some people, you know, kind of just agreeing with Quinton and saying that she's clearly like a mentally disturbed person. On the other hand, you have people making claims about her other personal interactions, which are, you know, it's not like Quinton had a screenshot for every single interaction they had, but he did have, you know, screenshots for the most important ones. There's people in the comments claiming things about her I can't personally verify whatsoever. There's no screenshot, there's no evidence, so, you know, take this with a grain of salt. But this one person said, I've never watched you, but I've had personal problems with this girl. She's been a cyberbully for a decade now, harassing friends of mine endlessly, and craves drama and being the victim. She dated someone and then ghosted them, and then turned around and told her subscribers/followers that she was abused by this person. Just a vile human being. I'm sorry she did this to you as well. She's one of the most disgusting people I've ever had the misfortune of knowing. So it seems to me like, you know, at least this person in the comment section has the impression that there's a history of bad behavior here. And I hope that Flower Gothic, you know, whether that's true or not, particularly given the Quinton situation, we can see that she clearly has some kind of issue. And I say this genuinely, I'm not being facetious here. You know, the temptation when you see a situation like this is to want to, like, you know, destroy this person that accused him, right? You want to destroy them. That's kind of the temptation you get with other more extreme situations, like with, you know, Quite being accused of what he was accused of by Orion, and then it turns out that Orion was very, very likely lying about all of that, right? It seems clear to me that Orion was lying about all the accusations against Quite. There's a temptation to want to destroy the accuser's life. I was, you know, thinking about this the other day, and I was like, I get that, I understand that, especially, you know, as a commentary channel, like I get the sort of catharsis that people get out of destroying someone who tried to destroy others. I'm gonna try to be empathetic here and say that I hope that Flower Gothic gets the help she needs, because clearly she needs it. Clearly there's something wrong with her, very wrong. The way she views personal relationships, the way she's clung on to this for years, her sense of entitlement around a lot of things, the way she overworks herself needlessly and then blames, you know, other people for it, the way she blames other people for her decisions. It's bad. It's bad. It's horrible. So I hope that she can get this figured out while she's still young, and this isn't like just a set in stone pattern of behavior that's going to destroy her life forever. And hopefully Quinton can also move on from this situation with it behind him, not having to talk about any of this weird stuff ever again, and can just like be his own guy making videos in his own world, you know? I feel like he doesn't deserve to have this crazy stalker person follow him forever. And if you liked this video, consider becoming a member. For $5 a month, you get access to exclusive podcasts, unreleased videos, and the members-only Minecraft server. Thanks so much to all of my YouTube members who fund my content.